ध्यायेत् हृत्कमलमध्ये हेमवर्णां सुखासनाम् आलुलायितकेशार्ध वक्षस्थलाभिमण्डिताम् प्रसन्नवदनां जीवदुःखगलितचेतसाम् शुभ्रज्योतिर्मयीं देवीं वरदां सर्वमङ्गलाम् स्नेहमयीं शिवां शान्तां भुक्तिमुक्तिप्रदायिनीं सर्वजीवत्राणकर्त्रौ शारदां ज्ञानदायिनीम्. Let us meditate in the lotus of our heart on Sri Sharda Devi, the grantor of knowledge, of golden hue, sitting at ease with her hair dishevelled, falling on half of her breast, ever having a contented or pleased look, and her heart melting at the miseries of creatures, full of resplendent light, the effulgent one who ever grants boons and is ever auspicious, full of affection, the auspicious one, ever calm, the grantor of devotion and liberation, and the protectress of all creatures. May we offer our salutations to her. Today I am going to speak on Holy Mother, the personification of love and affection. Her life is unique since she has given the full manifestation of love towards one and all. By understanding the love given by Holy Mother, we may have glimpse of the divine love. What exactly divine love means? It is necessary for us to understand how the whole world moves. Life is a blessing when we achieve our goal of liberation and enjoy perpetual happiness and share it with humanity. Life seems to be a curse when we have to confront many problems to the extent of losing heart, when we have to suffer terribly. Is there any remedy for these unbearable situations? All over the world, people are suffering. Is there someone to help in that miserable condition? Yes, there is. It is love of God. It is only through love of God that we can bring hope and assurance to the people suffering in the world. Love is God. Swami Vivekananda, while explaining this, says that this universe is but a manifestation of this love. The whole universe is playing on out of this love only. Atoms unite with atoms, molecules with molecules, planets fly towards each other. What is it that attracts man to man? What is it that attracts man to woman, woman to man, and animals to animals, drawing the whole universe as it were towards one center? It is what is called love. Its manifestation is from the lowest atom to the highest being. Omnipotent, all-pervading is this love. What manifests itself as attraction in the sentient and the insentient, in the particular and in the universal, is the love of God. It is the one motive power that is in the universe. Under the impetus of that love, Christ gives his life for humanity. Under the impetus of that love, Buddha, even for an animal. Under the same impetus of love, the mother for the child, the husband for the wife, and the wife for the husband. It is under the impetus of the same love that men are ready to give up their lives for their country, and strange to say, under the influence of the same love, the thief steals, the murderer murders. These are the words of Swami Vivekananda. Even in these cases, the spirit is the same, but the manifestation is different. Love is the one motive power in the universe. The thief has love for gold. The love is there, but it is misdirected. So our suffering is due to misdirection of love. So in all crimes as well as in all virtuous actions, behind stands the eternal love. Suppose a man writes a check for $1,000 for the poor of New York, and at the same time, the same room, another man forges the name of a friend. The light by which both of them write is the same, but each one will be responsible for the use he makes of it. It is not the light that is to be praised or blamed. Unattached, yet shining in everything, is love, the motive power of the universe, without which the universe would fall to pieces in a moment. And this love is God. A famous, wonderful statement made by Swami Vivekananda. Love is a sovereign remedy for the descent of God into the soul. Holy personages come to show us how to use this element of love in life. Everything needs training. Everything needs cultivation. Everything needs determination. They show us life, how to live the life. Many of us even do not know that. Life is a duty, dare it. Life is a burden, bear it. And life is a treasure, share it. The great people come to this world to show these ideals to our life. They show us that God is within us. They impress upon us not to depress, not to be awed by circumstances. They convince us that we are not alone. The divine, all-loving Lord is within us. His strength is our strength. His wisdom is our wisdom. His love will not forsaken us until we have first forsaken Him. They teach by their life that love of God arises in a childlike mind. The divine name is a fountainhead of love. Hence, love of God follows him who chants the name of God. The holy people warn us that divine love is smothered by carnal attachment. They want that love should pervade our body and mind. Our words and thoughts and deeds should be full of love. Pure, selfless love is the divine power. Is it ever possible to manifest that kind of love in this world? Yes. Holy Mother, the divine consort of Sri Ramakrishna, manifested such pure love in her life from the beginning to the end. She lived a simple and inspiring life, bearing tremendous hardships through grace, modesty, and dignity. She became a constant light to guide, lead, and inspire us in the dark and thorny wilderness of life. We must study her life. We must practice some of her teachings in our life. We should make a humble beginning. Then we will know how great Holy Mother life. Though the inspiration is there, if we are not sincere, we would not derive any benefit. Through the inspiration of her life, our life becomes meaningful and begins to blossom. She was a personification of love and affection. Anybody, irrespective of caste, color, or creed, could approach her. There was no rejection of anybody from her side. Anybody from any place in the world. She was ready to help anyone. She was therefore rightly called the Mother of the universe. She would treat everyone with same tenderness, love, and affection as she would extend towards Swami Vivekananda and other direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. There was a young disciple of the Holy Mother. He found himself between the horns of a dilemma with regard to his decision to take to monastic life. It was vehemently opposed by parents, naturally. Nobody wants their child to renounce the world and retire to the forest. The disciple came to Holy Mother and broached the subject. The Holy Mother first gave an evasive answer and asked him to decide for himself. After some time, the disciple again opened his heart to her. He wanted her guidance, her decision, and he depended on her completely. He assured her that he would make all possible arrangements for his old parents and others before he left them. The Holy Mother became thoroughly convinced of his earnestness and said, "Well, what is there, my child, in worldly life? What an inordinate attachment people have for it. See, out of one so many come, and how one's attention and energies are all dissipated. How can a worldly man placed under such conditions attain spiritual development? They are crying to have peace and happiness. How is it possible unless they cultivate positive steps towards spiritual unfoldment? Have you not seen crabs? The mother crab, leaving thousands of her young ones, peep out of her hole again and again, but she goes down every time because of the young one's attraction. She struggles repeatedly, but in vain. And why? Because of her attraction for the innumerable young ones in the hole, drags her down into it in spite of her best efforts. Such is the case of those who are absorbed in worldly life. They want to come to spiritual life. They want to repeat the name of the Divine Lord. They want to be good and noble in every respect, but they are not able to practice them, even a bit of it, because of their attraction, total attachment, total clinging to the worldly things. So your object is noble, my boy. March on. God will bless you. These words show clearly Holy Mother's high regard for the life of renunciation, of which she herself was a shining example. Though Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother married, each one of them is master of renunciation par excellence. Swami Vishuddhanand, a disciple of Holy Mother, said that he was fortunate enough to realize for the first time what was meant by unmotivated love. Only those who have tasted this love knows its nature. One cannot express it in words. It is only to be experienced. The power of her unearthly love attracted his young heart so tremendously that in no time all the collective pull of affections of parents and relatives naturally lagged behind. When Vishuddhananda heard about Holy Mother from Sharat Chandra Chakravarti, a disciple of Swami Vivekananda, a yearning for the darshan and the grace of the Mother grew in his heart. He determined that he should have the darshan of Holy Mother. He went to Jarambati via Burdwan. It was an arduous journey. By the time he reached the place, his limbs were tired, mind exhausted. First time he was coming, he thought within himself that how fine it would be if someone introduced him to the Holy Mother. How to approach her alone? In what way should he speak to her? What sort of reception awaited him? His mind was agitated with such thoughts, but all anxiety and misgivings vanished in a moment as he saw the Holy Mother. What was the response? For the first time he is seeing the Mother. The Mother asked him at sight, "How do you do, my child? Was the journey comfortable?" This loving care of Holy Mother thrilled the heart of Vishuddhananda. He said he was the recipient of exactly that warm treatment which a son returning home after a long time receives from his mother. After this meeting, Vishuddhananda ji had the good fortune of seeing Holy Mother at Jarambati, Benares and Calcutta quite a few times. Every time she was to him the eternally affectionate mother. There was a tremendous attraction. He would always love to meet her and talk to her and experience that divine love through her. Vishuddhanand and two other disciples of Holy Mother received monk's robes and blessings from her when she prayed to Sri Ramakrishna for them. "O Lord, protect these children in their sannyasa. They are trying to practice renunciation. Please protect them. On hills, mountains, forests, wherever they may be, please grant them a few morsels of food." What concern we can see here. With unperturbed face, she was pushing her children on the razor edge path of renunciation, but at the same time, the affection of her mother heart remained wingless as ever. Once, Swami Vishuddhananda and another monk went to Jarambati to have the blessings of the mother, there were some household disciples also along with them. They all had dinner at night. After some time, they were all preparing themselves to sleep. Holy Mother called for these two monks. When they came, Holy Mother was holding 2 cups of milk in her hand. She said affectionately to them, "Take this, my children." There was no sufficient milk, and so it could not be served to all. These household disciples are also my children. But then they can take a lot of things at home. But who is there to feed you? That was Holy Mother. Many times it would not be possible to have her blessings as often as they would like to. Yet in the very core of their heart, they always felt her love and blessings, which volatilized all fear. The Holy Mother was a perfect image of tenderness, modesty, simplicity, purity, love and affection. Highest spiritual knowledge and realization were like fruits in her palm, what we call in Sanskrit Karatala Malaka. But above all, she was a perfect mother, ready always to give her wonderful love and affection to one and all without any reservation. This is her supreme manifestation. Some youngsters used to spend their weekends at the Belur Mutt, the headquarters of Ramakrishna Mission. They were soaked in the spiritual environment of the great place. They had the opportunity of meeting some of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. The environment itself would attract them to come to that place more often. The great disciples of the Master used to treat all these boys as their own and won their hearts by their unbounded selfless love. Once they come, again and again they would like to come. Such tremendous love they would all give to these boys. That is divine love. That is selfless love. That is the love of God. Because of this spiritual association, some of these young boys were preparing themselves to take up the monastic life. Swami Yatishwaranandaji was one of them. One day, he was asked to take some vegetables grown in the Belur Mutt garden to Holy Mother, who was at Bag Bazaar on the other bank, on the other side of the Ganges. He was happy that he could get this opportunity of meeting Holy Mother. After crossing the Ganga, he went to the place and entered the shrine room. Holy Mother had just finished her daily worship of Sri Ramakrishna, and he could see her face radiating an inexpressible sublimity, compassion and bliss. It was indeed a divine face, entirely different from what one sees ordinarily in mortals. One senior monk introduced Yatishwaranandaji, his name was Suresh, to Holy Mother as an aspirant for the monastic order. She was greatly pleased and blessed him, putting her hand on his head. Yatishwaranandaji felt the power of her unfailing blessings and was greatly moved. Such was the deep impression made on his mind that whenever he thought of the Holy Mother, he felt that the blessed hand of hers was still on his head, and he wished and prayed that she might ever keep him and others under her motherly protection and guidance. She was a compassionate mother of the mighty heart. She transformed the most morally degraded and evil-minded by her love and affection. Many who went to her were up to anything in life. No type of sin had been left undone by them. Of such people, Holy Mother remarked, but when they come here and address me as Mother, I forget everything. And they get more than they deserve. Once, someone protested against her blessing a young man who had gone astray. She said sharply, "If my child gets covered with mud or dust, is it not my duty to cleanse him and take him on my lap?" Once a woman came to Holy Mother and repented for the bad life she lived earlier. Holy Mother assured her tenderly with all affection, "Don't despair for whatever you have done. You will get over all your sinful tendencies." She also gave initiation to that woman and inspired her to live a spiritual life hereafter. Here we get a glimpse of the mighty Mother Heart, the divine grace which makes the impure pure, the ignorant enlightened, and the bound free. The Holy Mother is the infinite reservoir of mercy and love. Sri Ramakrishna laid the foundations of the Neo-Vedantic mission in the hearts and minds of his young disciples. Swami Vivekananda was responsible for the expansion of this mission throughout the globe. Atmano mokshartham jagadhitaya cha. One has to achieve self-realization through service to humanity. Tremendous work. Throughout the world, we can see how Swami Vivekananda's ideas are being worked out even today. He felt very much for the poor people of the country, of the world, and he was ready to do anything to bring relief to such poor people. When the young boys who had gathered round Sri Ramakrishna in last years of his terrestrial life, when they were disgusted with their existence on the passing away of the Master, and they wanted to go away in different directions and live themselves in perpetual tapasya, it was the Holy Mother that integrated them, brought them together, and rallied them round Sri Ramakrishna's mission. She was the central figure who could keep all those disciples of Sri Ramakrishna together to work out the mission of Sri Ramakrishna. Because Sri Ramakrishna had left these children in the charge of Holy Mother and had told her that she had to do what he himself had left undone on account of his very short earthly life. It was the Holy Mother that was the rallying center for these boys. It was her love and affection par excellence that made them succeed in taking the message of the Master to every corner of the globe. Even for Swami Vivekananda to come to America, it was Holy Mother's blessing that made Swami Vivekananda come to America without any difficulties. And so, if we today are the beneficiaries of the Ramakrishna mission, we owe it to the great wisdom, love and integral power of the Holy Mother. The Mother's kindness and love flowed towards all the beings. She initiated into spirituality all and sundry. She would never select anybody who would come to her would be qualified for initiation. People who had no chance at all in this life of any spiritual evolution, when they went to her and requested her for initiation, found her only too willing. She never rejected anybody. It mattered very little whether external ceremonies were observed or not, whether there was the requisite outer purity or not, and whether the seeker was fit or not. The fact that the person had come to the mother for the spiritual instruction was enough. When someone remarked to her, "Why is it that while all the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna are such gems, great men who have renounced the world and dedicated themselves for the eternal cause of Vedanta, such as Vivekanand, Shardanand, Abhedanand, and others, why is it that while these few disciples of the Master are exemplars of the perfect life, your disciples, though so numerous, should be so mediocre?" Somebody asked this question to her. The Holy Mother replied, "Why do you compare? What I am doing with the Master's mission? The Master came to save these few souls, like Vivekananda and others, in order that the millions might be saved through them. But what about the unfortunate children who have had no chance of gaining admittance into the presence of the Master? It is for bringing succor to them that the Master has left me behind." And so, infinite was the love of this mother. A mother makes no discrimination between her intelligent children and the dull ones. If anything, the mother is more kind towards her unfortunate children. So was the Holy Mother. Everyone had access to her. No one was so mean as not to be in a position to gain her favor. Once, in her village home, she served food to a Muslim workman with her own hands. Sharda Devi was born in a very orthodox family. She had no use for rules that would restrict motherhood. No matter who the sufferer was, her heart would go out spontaneously to the victim of suffering. One day, when she was at Budbodhan in Calcutta, she heard the wailing of a lady. She went out to the veranda to see what was happening. The husband of that woman was beating her. Holy Mother could not contain herself. She cried out to that man, saying, "Why are you behaving in such a brutal fashion? Are you going to kill her? Stop immediately. Stop the beating." Immediately that man stopped beating his wife. The mother's love knew no bounds at all. Her love flowed not only towards human beings, but also towards animals. It is here we have to find out, we have to underline the divine love, the manifestation of the divine love. They share that love with all the creatures of the universe. In her village home, one morning a cow was separated from her calf, and the calf was bleating in order to gain the freedom to go to its mother. Holy Mother could not bear to see this agony of the calf. She untied the calf so that it would go to its mother and get what it needed. On another occasion, when someone was fondling a cat, with one foot placed on the head of the cat. Mother said, the head is the seat of the Guru. One should not touch the head with the foot. Salute the cat. Not only towards animals, but even towards inanimate objects, the mother was gentle. Once, the cook of her household, after having swept the floor, threw the broomstick in a corner. The Holy Mother took her to task and said, "Why do you behave so rudely towards the broomstick? Can't you put it gently there? Why are you throwing it away?" Thus, limitless was the mother's love. Her motherliness was all comprehensive. In fact, she was to teach, according to Sri Ramakrishna's plan, the motherhood of God to humanity. It is to teach people the divine love. Once we understand it, then our realization of God becomes very easy. God is not only Father, but also Mother. In the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, there is an exquisite passage which is addressed to the ultimate divinity thus: Tvam Stri Tvam Pumanasi Tvam Kumara Utava Kumari Tvam Jirno Dandena Vanchasi Tvam Jato Bhavasi Sarvato Mukhaha. In the Upanishad, it is mentioned that thou art woman, thou art man, thou art the youth and also the maiden. Thou, as an old man, totterest with a stick. Being born, thou becomest facing all directions. It means Atman is neither male nor female. God can be addressed as mother as well as father. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord declares, Pitahamasya jagato mata data pitamaha. I am the father of the world, the mother, the protector, the creator. Here, Lord Krishna, the universal soul, the Paramatman, he is declaring that he is nothing but father and mother of the whole creation. So why not we pray to the God in whatever way we want? What he wants is our pure love. Then Lord's help is always there. There is a prayer. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva, tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva, tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva, tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Thou art my mother, thou art my father, thou art my relation, thou art my friend. Thou art my learning, you are my wealth, you are my everything, O God of gods. The Holy Mother was the inspiration of Swami Vivekananda's work. Swami Vivekananda himself has said, I value mother's love, grace, 1,000 times more than the father's. She blessed every undertaking of Swami Vivekananda. She blessed the Ramakrishna order. It was the Holy Mother that became the cornerstone of this great edifice, which we have before us in the form of the Ramakrishna mission. Holy Mother was conscious of her cosmic divine nature and power. She said, I am as much the mother of the good as of the bad. With her deep spiritual introspection She saw the essential spiritual core of all and refused to see their superficial defects. People in general are very easily susceptible to find out faults in others. By picking out faults in others, they are just soiling their own mind. So mother was very particular about not seeing fault in others. One day, when Golapma was scolding a maid servant, the Holy Mother asked her the reason for it. The Golap said, "Oh mother, what's the good of telling you you can't see the defects of others?" To this Holy Mother replied, "Well, there is no want of people to see the faults of others. The world will not come to a standstill if I am otherwise." So if a person has to march on in spiritual life, he must never pick out faults in others. It is in this uplifting strain that the Holy Mother spoke only a few days before her passing away to a devotee. If you want to have peace of mind, do not find fault with others. Rather, see your own faults. Learn to make the whole world your own. No one is a stranger, my child. This whole world is your own. Sri Ramakrishna also very frequently would say that we should pay minute attention how our thoughts come in the mind. The immediate thought would be, by seeing a person, we immediately pick out some defect in him. The day on which we stop finding out defects in others, that day we would be improving in our spiritual life. That is the indication whether we are progressing properly or not. The more we are on this path, the less we should find fault in others. Let us remember that not by entertaining a spirit of fault finding, but by cultivating a divine love for our fellow beings, that we can hope to find peace for ourselves and for the world. Prasida matar vinayena yache nityam bhava snehavati suteshu premaika bindum chiradagdha chitte vishincha chittam kurunas sushantam. Composed by Swami Abhedananji. How nicely he summarizes and he pays highest tribute to Holy Mother. Be loving and gracious to thy children, O Mother. We humbly beseech, sprinkle in our arid hearts a drop of love to enjoy peace. So if we have to cherish peace, we must develop this selfless love. As Swami Vivekananda had said in the beginning, that love of God, love is God. So we need not have any conflict with respect to the nature of God. How to know God? You try to love all the beings. When you are able to love everyone, then you would realize God. Nirvairaha sarva bhuteshu yassa mameti pandava. Lord Krishna says, don't have enmity towards anyone. that is love everybody. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankaraha samadukha sukakshami. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitraha karuna evacha. How wonderfully Lord Krishna has given the message in the Bhagavad Gita. So these great people, the incarnations, holy personages, come often on this scene to inspire us, to purify us, to show us the path of love. Everyone has that element of love in him, but it is to be properly directed. Proper direction is to be given. That we can get by holy association, by reading, understanding the life and teachings of these great personages. Then it would be possible for us to experience that divine love. Even doing selfless activity gives a kind of joy, which is rather very different from the joy which we get through the sense objects. So, Holy Mother has come to manifest that love and affection, and we should recognize great personages to the best of our capacity. Thank you all. If there is any question, you can ask. Yes, it is true. Mother's life is so sublime. The more we study deeply, the more we understand. Holy Mother suffered all through her life. So, in spite of the suffering, she was showing love towards all. In fact, she was commenting with some disciples about her own brothers. See, Holy Mother, the mother of the universe, who can give anything, whatever asked would be given. She was ready to give, but those brothers were always running after money. They want money, money, money. Whenever they would see Holy Mother, they would ask for money. And Holy Mother remarked, even for a fun, they did not ask for any spirituality. How many people would come to Holy Mother for spiritual instructions? And why Holy Mother was so much attached to Radhu, one little girl who was giving all trouble to her throughout her life? Many people ask this question. It is not that she was attached to her. Holy Mother, her mind otherwise would be always in a high samadhi state. It would not be possible for her mind to come down. So it was very necessary to hold on to something so that the mind may not go up. But in the case of ordinary people like us, the mind will immediately come down. It will not go up at all. But in the case of those holy personages, the mind always goes up. It won't come down at all. So a very strong force was needed. So it was as if the Maya provided through Radhu that Holy Mother's mind should be always kept at this normal plane of consciousness. But you can see, during her last days, she told all the attendants to take her away from her sight, Radhu, whom she was loving all through. She said, "No more entanglement. Now I am withdrawing myself. I am leaving this world. I don't have any kind of attachment." So Mother showed and how she was very meticulous in the discharge of household duties, and how she was trained by Sri Ramakrishna. Though she had no formal education as we have, she had all the wisdom. Sri Ramakrishna himself trained her in every respect. So there was perfection in all her activities. That we could see in Holy Mother life. That is why Mother said, blessings, sufferings are blessings in disguise. Because through sufferings, we have to learn how to turn our mind to God. Because the anger is there in everyone on account of various factors. But how to, in fact, what is the antidote of anger? It is love only. When we try to love a person, the anger will go away. But you have to practice it, it will not go immediately. Anger is such, it wants to hurt a person or do something immediately before the anger goes away. But if we are really careful to get rid of that temperament, we must take some positive steps. First of all, if we regularly read some of the books like Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother's Life, Bhagavad Gita, and other holy scriptures, you must read every day, constantly you must read. And those ideas you must try to think deeply, then they work out. So whenever such situation comes, we must get away from that place, change the mood. If we change the mood, then the anger goes away. First of all, we must decide we shouldn't be angry. That's very important. But many times we find when the anger comes, we want to act upon it. We don't want to get rid of it. That's the fault. But praying to the Lord also helps. Praying to the Divine Lord anymore. So a person need not despair or need not lose heart thinking, oh, he is very ordinary person and he is too much worldly, so he can't practice all these spiritual sadhanas which are given by the great persons. But Holy Mother's grace is always towards such people. Mother would say, very easy method. You need not do any austere practices. Is it difficult for you to repeat the Lord's name? Try to do it sincerely, then you will get over all the problems. So we must try to appreciate the value of true love. Value of true love. That is the spiritual love. Swami Vivekananda came to America. Why? It's because of love only. He loved Americans. He loved all the people. He wanted to give the message of Vedanta to everyone. So he came. Sri Ramakrishna also, his calling, even now his call is there through his teachings. Come along, all of you. Everyone is welcome to spiritual life. There is no bar on anybody. So that is the expression of love. If you see Sri Ramakrishna's face, how there is full of love there is in the face. The face itself expresses that love. A true religious man loves everyone. And our goal should be towards that. I think we can conclude. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine Avatara varisthaya Ramakrishnaaya te Namah. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the manifestation of all religions in the world, who came to integrate all the religions, who established religion on the right track. Let us offer our salutations. Let us pray to him to lead us from unreal to the real. We are suffering because we think unreal to be real. Let us pray to him to lead us from darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, from death to immortality. Let there be peace, peace everywhere. Thank you all.